So welcome, everyone. I'd like to call the Wednesday, October 27th, 2021 regular meeting and canvass of the votes to order in the Beacon City School District. Please stand for the pledge. Thank you. Roll call, Kelly. Oh, there she is.
Ms. Betterbid?
Here.
Ms. Flynn?
Here.
Mr. Galloway?
Here.
Ms. Johnson?
Here.
Ms. Singh?
Here.
Mr. White?
Excused.
Mr. Wolf?
Here.
Ms. Stadler?
Delayed.
Ms. Stewart?
Here, thank you. Matt, will you review the fire exits, please?
Exits are in the back of the LGI.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to start with open to the public. I think a couple of people signed up. Anthony, do you mind handing me the book? Just in case you're new to speaking here for open to the public, you'll have 4 minutes to speak. We ask you not to address any teachers by name or anything that's identifiable. And Mrs. Smith is on the list first. Would you like to? There's J. Smith and L. Smith. It's up to you guys. Alphabetical?
Meredith, I've got a timer going.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry. Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm here again. I was here at the last board meeting to speak about the issues with the bus. I informed you and let you know about what was going on with the buses, making unscheduled stops. I've also heard from another parent that it's also happening with another bus. It was bus 9, and she actually had to drive a mile because her daughter texted her and take her daughter off the bus because she didn't know why she was sitting there. She says she's contacted the bus garage 17 times since September about different issues. I told her she should try to speak to the superintendents. I'm here, I mean, it's other parents that you have the Beacon City site with the parents. So it's on there, you can read it, it's nothing I'm not saying. The communication between the bus garage and the parents, but it doesn't seem to be resolving anything. But I'm again with another issue with my grandchildren on the bus. So there's a new bus driver. And I understand mistakes happen. The child is 8 and the child is 5. So 4:15 in the afternoon come, usually they're there at 3-something. I call the bus garage, you know, I'm like, all right, I understand it could be late, but I'm concerned because of the previous issues about the bus making stops that it shouldn't. So they told me the bus will be there in 5 minutes and that one of the children got off the bus. So we're talking about a 5-year and an 8-year-old. I was like, I'm at the bus stop. Well, the bus driver is telling us that one of the kids got off. What do you mean one of them? Who? Which one? Where'd they get off at? So I'm thinking, now I only have one kid on the bus. I've got to wait till the bus comes. I don't know where they let the other one off. Then they call back, you know, and they're telling me that one of the kids is asleep on the bus. They said one of the kids is asleep on the bus. Okay. So I'm like, all right, are they on? So here I think one's got off and the other one's sound asleep and they're riding around. They didn't know this child's on the bus. My daughter then calls back 15 minutes later and is told they don't know. The bus is still out there. It'll be coming soon. They don't know. This is now 4:30 in the afternoon. He'll talk to the bus driver when he gets there and find out where he's been because he doesn't know. That's not an okay answer. You know, we want to know where the children were. The children get home, I asked them. The 8-year-old says, I stood up on the bus, I was hollering to the bus driver that this is my stop, you know, because she's scared because of what happened before being stopped at other places where she had to actually, you know, look at the place and the area and try to remember where she was, like she's been taught if you're ever in a strange place. And she said the bus just passed. So now she's in a panic. So she's nervous, you know, wondering, they go, nobody says anything to her. She said the bus, you know, she's hollering to the bus. And I said, okay, you know what? We have a bus driver with a lot of little children on it, no monitor. So that could have possibly happened. But he didn't even, when they spoke to the driver, let me go back, when they spoke to the driver, he gave 3 different stories, or Deborah at the bus garage. She told me 3 different stories on the conversation. First, the bus driver, we were told that one child got off, so we spent like 15, 20 minutes wondering where one child was. Like, oh my God, do we call the police? Where do we go? What do you mean we got to wait till the bus comes back to find out where you left the other child? But the child was on the bus. Then they told me, well, they both fell asleep. Then they said, no, only one fell asleep, and the other one was hollering to stop at the stop, but he didn't hear her.
Sorry,
Okay.
that's 4 minutes, I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry, but,
Thank you.
and no responses on that still.
The other Mrs. Smith, would you like to speak?
Good evening. My issue is also with the bus. It's a bus that goes over to Roundabout. Basically, since the beginning of the school year, if it's not the driver, it's the monitor. They're constantly yelling at my kids. You don't really ever hear them yell at anybody else's. I'm starting to feel like my kids are being harassed. Yesterday morning, when the bus got to the school, they refused to let my oldest off of the bus. They held him on, they called the principal, they called like everybody to come out to remove him from the bus. They said he was being insubordinate, disrespectful. That's not my son. I did go over to the board to try to speak with, all 3, and they were out, yes, the vote meeting and everything. So then I went to transportation, got the same issue, we'll look into it. It wasn't until, I believe, the principal called the Board of Ed, because even him himself said that that's not my son. My son's in 8th grade, and I feel that if you're making a 13-year-old cry because you're constantly saying things, every day he's crying, this is an issue. This is something that, transportation, you guys, everybody needs to look into. Because if it's happening to my son, I'm sure it's happening to other kids. Like I said, I feel like my children are being harassed. I can hear them in my kitchen yelling at my kids. My kids are the first stop. I can hear them yelling at my kids in my kitchen with my window cracked open. I shouldn't hear that. That's basically all I have to say.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else that would like to make a public comment?
Can I make a comment?
Is there anyone else in this room first? Yeah, we're going to get to Zoom next.
Do you want me to sign in?
You don't need to sign in, just state your name. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Christina Dow. Good evening. I'm the president of the Beacon Teachers Association. If I knew that, I'm a teacher. In honor of Board Appreciation, which it is this week, it is today, the Beacon Teachers Association would like to thank you, all of you, for your leadership to our students and for your service to our school community. Service in any role is a challenging endeavor, which we are sincerely grateful for your time and your commitment to our district. And we would like to present you with a treat of appreciation on behalf of the BTA. So thank you again for your service. We do appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
No, that's good.
John really
Congratulations on your
scored.
election as president.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for coming to the meeting. That's very sweet of you. Okay, I think there's someone on Zoom that would like to make a comment. Michael Reel?
He's muted.
Yes, thank you very much. My name is Michael Reel. I'm a Beacon City School District resident. I am on the Board of Education at BOCES. I represent Beacon on the Board of Education over at the BOCES. I'm here to say thank you, as your teachers have done, for your dedication and service to the students and the parents and all of the citizens of the Beacon City School District. And I want to thank you for the hard work you put into the capital projects that was just voted on. I see by the straw poll, the unofficial count, that it passed, and congratulations at that. And I think that you're doing an excellent job, and I'm very proud to say I represent Beacon on the BOCES board. I was lucky enough to become president this year. So I just wanted to introduce myself and say thank you to all the board members there. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And Mr. Reel, are you a former board member of the Beacon City School District as well?
Yes, I am. I was also a former employee as a business official quite a while back for Beacon.
It's nice to meet you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Congratulations on your election as well.
Thank you.
Okay, so yeah, moving on to the canvass of the votes, I just want to say thank you to everyone who made it out in incredibly inclement weather yesterday to vote. It was an overwhelming success for the project of, what was the final, is it on here? 513 votes for yes and 71 no. Can I have a motion to accept the results of the canvass of the votes for the capital project?
Anthony, so moved.
Anthony?
Second.
Second by Craig. Are there any other comments or questions about it?
What was the total vote?
The total number of votes was 584 votes.
That's a little bit less than the usual turnout.
It is, but it was torrential rain
Yes.
and a special election.
Yeah. And the percentage of approval would be about what?
88,
88%,
88? Thank you.
if you round up.
Round up. Okay.
which we're going to take the liberty of doing. Any other?
I just have one comment, just generally about if you're new to board meetings, we follow an agenda. So public comment, we hear information and receive it. We don't comment back and forth about it, and we follow through this agenda to do business. But it's no, we're not. We all have heard the public comments, so I feel like we're following. If this is how you know it's happening at the meeting, so it's helpful to. They're right there. If you're new to meetings, and I can see why it might feel incongruous, but this meeting is about that.
Are there any other comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 8-0. Matt, do you want to say anything about?
Yeah, just first I want to say, to the folks who came for public comment, thank you for coming. We were both out in buildings when you stopped by the office the other day. We are actively investigating the allegation. I can't comment any more about it, but we have started to try to immediately address that, and we'll be in touch soon. So thank you. The capital project vote, I just want to say thank you to the people who did brave the weather to come. I personally got completely soaked voting myself that morning, so I know lots of people braved the elements to come. So what happens next is I've gotten a few emails like we got this approval, so what happens next? We have a pretty aggressive timeline. I said that in a few of my presentations about this. I won't get into as great a detail as I've been before, but we do immediately start working on some things that we want to put in place next summer. And so some of the things we're doing next summer involve less design work, but they're very important. So we are planning on doing the boiler replacements in the elementary buildings this summer. We want to do the extensive roof work at Beacon High School and Roundabout Middle School. We're going to also do not all of the hallway work. You may have noticed on those slides, we're doing a lot of what our architect called corridor ceilings replacements. We are going to start with that this summer and try to get as much of that done as possible. So pretty much our architect, Bill, got the news today, is waiting for this year acceptance of the vote of the public, and then he is he's moving on and starting the work on getting state education approval for all of those projects. There's a lot of other things we have to do, putting the project out for bid and selecting contractors and all of that. So we had those committees at each building that really helped us, especially with the instructional part of the project. And so those committees that will actually start convening after winter break. So they'll start convening again in January. And Bill and his team will start the design process for, the outdoor play spaces and the new science rooms, the new art rooms, and the new library, and all of the things in all of our buildings. So we're going to start that design process in January. But the work for that won't start until the summer of 2023. Our goal is to get, the major work done the next 2 summers, and then things that can happen while school's in session at night and on the weekends, like electrical work and some HVAC work will happen probably at night and on weekends in the fall of both 2022 and 2023. So there's a lot more to come. We're really excited about moving forward. It was great to see the number of people that came out in such bad weather, and with another election a week from yesterday. So we're really excited about the next steps. And Bill will be giving the facilities committee of the board regular updates and be coming back to regular board meetings as well over the next few years.
Thank you. Could I have a motion to adjourn to executive session to review the employment history of a particular individual and to review collective bargaining with the Beacon Teachers Association and to seek legal counsel from the school attorney, and the board will return in about 45 minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Laura, second by Anthony. Comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm in favor, passes 8-0. Thank you.
Yeah.
Reviewing the agenda, there is one additional item, 1212, approved paid administrative leave, excuse me. Are there any parent or student groups that would like to speak? It doesn't look like there's anyone else online, so I'm going to skip that. Matt, superintendent's report.
All right, I'll be kind of quick tonight. I wanted to share some appreciation first. I want to just say a huge thank you to Kelly Palagy, our board clerk. We decided back in early September, late August, early September, let's do this vote October 26th because we want to get this work done. Work started, this summer, and it was an incredibly tight timeline for lots of different people, but she pulled off just another seamless election in the midst of a giant nor'easter, and she and her team really did a great job with that. And I also want to say today they did the counting of the votes, and we live streamed it for the thousands of people to watch that. Actually, I think there was a couple, but just about the counting, just to share this part, we weren't able to use the machines this year because there's an election next week. So we did hand counting. So Kelly and a team of people were hand counting in the conference room at the district office, and we had it on Zoom for people in the public to watch if they wanted. So that was yet another wrinkle with this. So just want to say a huge thank you to not only Kelly, but all the election workers that we have at both of our sites. But Kelly puts it all together. So thank you for taking care of all that. And it was crucial, really, for us to be able to start some of this necessary work this summer. If you remember, if we delayed this vote any longer, we'd be looking at a longer timeline. So we were able to get it in. My second appreciation, you guys have your little gift bags here. It's just a small token from me. It's board appreciation tonight, and I just wanted to just say a huge thank you for everything that you do. So just a personal thing to admit, I don't often walk through the house with 9 little gift bags with little tissue paper, and so it caught the eye of my son, and he was very curious about, like, where are you going and who are those for? Because why aren't they for me? And so I explained it's for the board, and as if, like, I know it was actually a private conversation, but as if on cue, the first thing he asked was, are they paid to do that job? And so it gave me a perfect segue in this appreciation to talk about, like, no, they aren't. They put in countless hours every week, every month, every year to support the work of the district, to lead the work of the district. And it's all purely volunteer. And I'd like to say that I got through that entire speech with him wrapped with attention. I probably only got a few words in before he kind of drifted off into something else. But it's true, and I appreciate the work you do, the community does, the staff, and our families for sure. And so I think it's cool to do this board appreciation on a night that we do the canvass of the votes for the capital project. The board really plays an integral role in a lot of things that we do, but things like a capital project, there's all the formal stuff, like the Zooms and the flyers we send out and the meetings, but there's lots of informal work that board members do for something like this, like talking to their neighbors, talking to people at the soccer game, talking to friends about the vote, like, influencing, informing. And it's a 24/7 job. Again, that's volunteer. So thank you on behalf of me and everyone in the community for all the time you've put in to a sometimes frustrating, but hopefully often rewarding job helping us run this district. So thank you.
Thanks, Matt. Moving on to committee reports and board comments. Anthony, would you like to start?
Sure. Good evening. Thank you for the appreciation. If your son wants my chocolates, feel free to volunteer them to you. He didn't ask, but I will offer. But I also want to say that it is good to show children, as an example of what is, what hard work can do and stuff like that. I mean, I literally dragged my 2 kids to the high school last night, because if you live in my house, you have to vote, right? So, I hope they hold on to those values when they get older. One was tired but okay with it. The other one was like, "Come on." But I think that's what's important for our society today. There was no diversity committee meeting, so I have nothing to report on that. So that's the end of my report. Thank you.
We're planning on meeting Thursday, November 4th.
Okay.
We haven't officially, like, completely figured it out, but we're thinking of trying a different format this year. That we have sort of a bigger meeting on Zoom where we do more sort of information and answer questions. And then we have 2 working groups. I lead a working group that's at a different time on a more regular basis on the code of conduct and restorative practices. Saggy would lead a group on the curriculum work and get input from the community on that. I'll flesh this out put it on the website and send it out to the community, but we're going to kick it off next Thursday.
Okay.
So that will be on Zoom.
What's that?
That will be on Zoom.
Yes, our thought right now is the working groups will be in person. People, we want people to indicate that they can kind of commit to 6 or 7 of these working group meetings, just so there's kind of like a regular attendance and people feel like they're helping to build something. We want to do like the sort of more sort of bigger Zoom informative answer questions from folks on a less frequent basis, probably every other month, just to sort of share progress and how we're doing. But speaking of that, we have a professional learning day Tuesday of next week on Election Day. Saggy and the content coordinators and the principals have planned a lot of different activities. But one of the things that Saggy's going to be leading with the middle school teachers at one time, and the high school teachers on another, is kind of an exploration and discussion about the state framework for culturally relevant pedagogy. So we're really excited to kick that off and start tying, a lot of the work that we do together in a more unified way. So we'll be able to update the community and stuff like that at the diversity meeting.
Thank you.
So I just have a question about the structure of that. I have been seeing on the Parents for Inclusive Schools page about the meeting because there had been a special ed working group associated with that. Is when you break it apart into these other subgroups, is that going to continue?
Yeah, we need to figure that out too. We started, the only reason I'm saying this, we started talking about today and then we got
Sure.
pulled in different directions because this summer we had a group of teachers and some administrators attend the Inclusive Leadership Institute. And then actually some other professional development we had teachers attend as well. And so we'll talk more about tying that into, but yeah.
So if I can ask another board member to cover the diversity committee on Thursday, I can't make it.
I think I can make it.
Okay, thank you.
If you can't, I could probably do it. I just also need someone to remind me again what day it is. That seems to be an ongoing issue for me right now. So
Thank you.
glad to do it. I just need to know what day it is.
Thanks.
But it's good to hear all the progress and that we're going to kick up soon.
Yeah, no, we're excited.
John? Any board
Nothing
comments?
today.
You've got a trunk or treat coming up.
You do.
Okay, that's true. I do have a trick or treat coming up this weekend. It is on rain or shine at the Roundabout Middle School parking lot.
Trunk or treat.
What day is it?
It's Saturday. Yeah, it's Saturday, 5 to
30th.
7.
5 to 7? In the Key Food parking lot?
Roundabout.
Oh, Roundabout parking lot,
Parking
okay.
lot.
Great. And Jasmine?
I just wanted to say it's been a great year. This has been my first year. Started around this time. The first meeting was with goodies, so that was a good first meeting. And I've enjoyed all the things that I've learned in working with you all. And that's it.
Alyssa?
I just want to thank everyone who gave us these lovely gifts. I will not be sharing my chocolate with anybody.
You can get more from Anthony.
I have on my calendar November 1st for policy. Is that our meeting? Is that when we're having our meeting?
No. We rescheduled it because of Anne Marie and Matt having a conflict, and it is rescheduled for, didn't we reschedule it?
It's the 3rd, right?
The 3rd, yeah, I thought we were deciding.
November 3rd?
There was an email.
The Wednesday.
Yeah, the 3rd, yep.
Was there an email with an invite?
No.
No, but you started the email about the date.
Right. So do I need to send an invite?
No. I mean, the invite usually just comes a little bit closer to the meeting.
Okay. So I'm not going to worry about it because I'll assume that the email is going to come and then it'll be on my calendar. Because that's generally how it works. Once the invite comes, it pops up on my calendar. So I'm not going to worry about it.
Kelly, I don't know, I think you were also on that email, but I think it also just sort of died without total confirmation. So we're confirming now. That works for everybody in the policy committee, right?
Yes.
Yes.
So November 3rd, 7 PM. Are we doing it by Zoom
Or a meeting.
or are we doing it in person?
Either is fine with me.
Yeah, it's fine with me also. I don't know about.
Matt, do you have a preference? Or-
Either's fine. I mean,
Anne Marie had something.
The only issue is that it's a week away. So
Yeah.
we won't have the week. I know Anthony had asked for a week for policies to review, but Kelly and I haven't met to.
Right, to do it.
So I just want to give you that heads up. So I didn't know if you wanted.
Do you
that
think you
day
can
or
get them out before the weekend? Or is that too much,
It
too
might be a
soon?
It might just then be a couple of them. Might be like a.
That's
short
fine. I mean, I'm sorry, that email chain, I think John thought he had replied to all, but he hadn't replied to everybody, and then he texted me, and I didn't, I think it was me, actually, that did not return to the email thread. So
Would it be more efficient to push it for another week after that?
Well, I would be able to give you, we would be able to give you the policies with a week to review, so that's totally up to you guys.
No, but you said you would only give us less policies if we met this Thursday?
If you met next Thursday, just the amount, there's only Thursday and Friday, and to be honest, tomorrow, I have COVID testing, so I'm
Right.
just gonna be out.
Yeah, so if we waited another week, we would get more policies to review?
You would probably get the same that you had last time, and you would have them a little longer so that you could review them.
Oh,
Does the 10th work for everybody?
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, okay. So should we do the 10th instead?
I think so.
It's fine.
I'm okay with that.
All right, so the 10th it is.
Cool.
Great.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay. Kristen?
The capital project passed, which we already, no, I'm really glad that people were able to get out and vote. I obviously think it would have been higher if it had been a little bit nicer, but I'll definitely take it. It's really exciting, and the next facilities meeting is going to be November 19th. I think that we can figure out what we do at that meeting. But I really appreciate everybody who did come out and vote, and everyone who took the time to attend the Zooms and ask questions. And I'm very grateful to the administrators and our team of experts in our architect and engineering firm and financial firms for helping us put this together on the timeline that we did. It feels good to have the vote and behind us, and that we can start the really exciting planning phase and start making some nice changes to the buildings starting next summer. So that'll be great.
I think one of the things we'd like to discuss at that meeting is, since the project's been approved, to discuss the management structure moving forward, with concerns from the last project. So we've had some really good conversations with Bill
Great.
about that, but he'll be able to be at the meeting, and we can just walk through. Obviously, we'll get into the timeline for the capital project, but also just like the management structure part, I think, is on all your minds, so we want to get into that too. I think waiting for the approval makes it more real to talk about, so I think it's the right time.
Great. That's exciting.
Kristen, did you say the 19th of November?
That's
a
what I have on the
Friday.
That's what I have on the meeting schedule on the website.
That's a Friday on my calendar.
The
I'm in right year.
18th would be the
Thursday.
third Thursday.
Huh, okay.
That's
So
right.
so I think it should be the 18th. I'm just looking at the district calendar.
I actually can't make the Friday.
You can't make the Thursday or the Friday?
I can make the Thursday, I can't make the Friday.
Well, I think we should do it on a Thursday. I don't know about any of you.
Your intention,
Yeah.
intention was for Thursday?
But
No,
Craig,
but it says on the website, that's what I think it should be on Thursday. I think it's an error, so I think we should correct it on the website and do November 18th.
yep.
Is
Okay,
everyone?
That would be good,
Okay.
to do it on the Thursday, better than the Friday.
Yeah, I
think.
would prefer that as well.
And Craig, you can make that on the 18th?
Yeah, and I think we should also.
We'll do
if-
audit then too.
If we can do audit and finance that same night.
Okay.
Anne Marie, is it possible, I know we were trying to reach our internal auditor to see if they're ready to present. Do you think that might be feasible by that day?
There's some staffing issues in the internal audit firm that she's
Okay.
trying to work through, so I would say no to that.
Okay.
We can talk about something else that we can present.
Sure. We can always find good things to talk about. Let's chat.
Maybe replacing
Okay.
them.
Are you thinking doing maybe one at 6 and one at 7, so that one of them
Sure.
isn't really late, especially if we have guests? We have the people from the audit,
Uh-huh.
the external people.
That's fine.
Yeah, we could do it at 6.
Audit
Well,
finance.
Do you want to do audit and finance at 6 and facilities at 7, or vice versa? Would you prefer?
At least it's earlier.
Okay,
We're gonna have outside people at both,
okay,
so at least we'll start.
all right.
Okay, so audit at 6, facilities at 7, or, fine. Great. So Craig, did you have other comments you wanted to?
Other comments, yes, we're good.
Sorry, Kristen, you were done with.
I was done, yeah, thank you.
Okay, yeah, Well, thanks to everybody who's been gifting us tonight. Thank you very much,
that's
Matt, and the teachers. It's nice to get, it's good to appreciate being appreciated. So I'd also like to say that there's some favorable developments happening in something called the Foundation for Beacon Schools, which is actually the successor to the Beacon Arts and Education Foundation. It's doing a good job of getting organized and coming up with ideas, not only for fundraising, but for how to encourage improvements in the educational programs and projects that they might be able to fund. It's being led by a very capable person by the name of Anna Sullivan, with whom I'm quite impressed. And I'm very encouraged at what I'm seeing with this development now. So you may be hearing more from them in the future than you are today, but rest assured that a lot of the infrastructure is being put in place to make this a real organization with good legs. So other than that, I think I'll say thank you again and pass it on to the next one. Where do we get everybody?
Flora?
Laura, oh, good.
Yeah, so we recently had the Nisba annual business meeting. It was online again this year, so it creates a sort of interesting dynamic where it's like a 5-hour meeting, and by the end, what seems to happen is that any late resolutions, everybody is pretty eager to leave, and they're not in a room together. So when the group votes on whether or not to consider late resolutions, the outcome is always no. So unfortunately, our resolutions were not considered this year, but that's okay. We'll bring them back next year. One thing I wanted to say, and I will send the results to everyone. If you probably all get it through Nisba, but I'll forward it to you just the same. I thought it was a really interesting gauge of the kinds of things that other districts are thinking about, and I think there were proposals there that we should consider also pushing forward in public relations, advocacy, and legislative committee. I cannot say that. I'll never be able to say it, but you know what I'm talking about. So things like, which I've mentioned before, federal funding for school meals, but also there was a lot of talk about changing the open meetings law to allow for more online meetings, which I thought for accessibility and things like that. And I thought that was a really interesting thing to advocate for, and also for absentee ballots. That was another big thing that came up because obviously districts saw a lot more participation when absentee ballots were allowed. Another interesting one was was legislation that would evaluate the efficacy of and require use of accurate recent data in future implementation of foundation aid. And I am interested in the district looking at, or the committee looking at ways to advocate around the kinds of aid that we get, because as we know, the economy and the budget are uncertain. So it's always good to be thinking of the future. Aside from that, it was a good meeting. It was interesting. There are definitely benefits to it being online. And I think the next P-roll meeting is 6 p.m. November 8th. Is it the 8th?
Yeah.
Yeah, November 8th, right before the school board meeting. Yep. That's it. Oh, and thank you for the treats, obviously.
Thank you. I have a couple things. I just wanted to give you a update, which I had up and now I don't, from Dan Pettigrew from our law firm regarding the stadium. It is in, right now, the process is around the approval of a subdivision application in the town of Fishkill. He recently forwarded me an email from Robert Balkand, who's the Commissioner for Dutchess County Department of Public Works, outlining the process in which he said that he will be attending the third planning board meeting Thursday, October 14th, to discuss the plans for the subdivision. And then will be a public hearing scheduled for November, for the November Planning Board meeting. And assuming there are no major issues, the board will consider the subdivision approval in the December meeting. And at that point, I think that will finish the process for conveying the stadium parcel over to the county. So I will keep you updated with more.
Did the acreage change a lot or no? Because it was an estimate when we first drew up the plans.
I haven't received any information about acreage changing.
Oh,
So
okay.
I also wanted to let you know that I did schedule a meeting with the mayor for November 8th in the afternoon, so I can give you an update at the board meeting later that evening. Matt, you'll be invited, and also the city administrator, Chris White, will be invited. If you have topics that you would like me to bring up, please let me know. Otherwise, I will review the topics that we talked about last year and just general further collaboration with the city. I'm sure one of the topics that we'll be talking about in a second will be the closing of Mattawan Road to the public. So I'll let you know more about that. Thank you for all the work on the capital project. I'm really excited about moving forward with that. Thank you to my fellow board members for your volunteerism. It is a lot of work, and I'm really grateful to be working with all of you. Thank you for letting us meet in the LGI for the first time in 18 months. I can't tell you, I am giddy to be under this fluorescent lighting. It feels like a warm blanket, so thank you very much for making that happen.
Even though it's freezing in here.
Depends on who you are.
Exactly. Depends on a couple things there. And that's it for me. So moving on to new business. Flora and I spent probably too much time writing a letter regarding the recent announcement from the prison superintendent that they would be closing the road between Route 52 to right where the entrance of the prison is on Mattawan Road. Matt, can you give us an update on what the latest is with that, and then we can sort of...
Sure. As you mentioned, we've been trying to work pretty closely with the city of Beacon, both Chris White and also, the chief of police and other members of the police department. We've also been working closely with Jonathan Jacobson's office, specifically Chief of Staff Julie Shiroshi, who's been kind of helping us navigate the state bureaucracy, for lack of a better way of describing it, with the Department of Corrections. So we've been advocating for several things, and I think you'll be discussing further advocacy. But I've been advocating for a delay. I asked to delay for the entire school year. That obviously was denied, but I asked for that. And I've also asked for, if the road is closed, that at least it stays open for school buses. And I did receive notice from Superintendent Burnett from Fishkill Correctional this afternoon, that they were going to allow school buses to go through the gate. So we'll be able to communicate with families tomorrow that we don't have to change route times. It impacted 7 routes, 7 different bus routes go through there. And so it's great. However, the concern, the other part of the concern remains, and that is just the large number of cars, both parents and students going to either Beacon High School or Roundabout that go through there every day. And I think that's not only our concern. I don't really want to speak for the city, but I know the city of Beacon's very concerned just about how to manage all that traffic, because there's going to be a lot of traffic either kind of trying to go through Memorial Park or go down Wilkes or go to Verplank and go that way. So that's what we're still focusing on. But at least today we did receive notice that our school buses are able to go through. So that I can, as you discuss, if you have other questions, I'm happy to share more. But that's where things stand right now.
Thank you. So, yeah, we wrote this letter that was very largely focused on the school buses, and, you know, how that was going to leave kids on buses longer and was going to cost us money, and we don't have extra drivers or buses. But again, now that is not as important, thank goodness. So that's a great improvement. But I do think we should still make a statement about it. I think it is a huge inconvenience and also a safety issue to do it so quickly, you know, that we can't adjust to what this will mean for Memorial Park and the area around it. It's going to increase traffic there, where traffic has already increased a lot in the last couple of years. So,
To that point, I think one thing that I really apologize. I read this quickly. I was having a busy week. I felt like you guys really nailed the salient points for the school. But when you're saying that if we're talking about our students, it still is relevant for, I think a good majority are walkers. I mean, my kids walk to school, and that whole area in the morning already feels crazy. I have a route that I prefer my daughter to take to Rompout because of the traffic on the corner. So that I feel like is, and if there's bad rain, like there was yesterday, it gets very flooded in that area. So it just takes an already bottlenecked spot and increases traffic, and we'll just, you know, we have a lot of students walking there at the same time. So
yeah.
I think that's worth calling attention to. It's still a safety issue.
Agreed, definitely. Right. This really is, you know, it's only a partial solution, and I'm not even sure if it's meeting us halfway with our concerns. So those are, you know, the bus issue is very visible, but I think there's a lot of other unintended consequences that will rise. We have a couple of choices on how to proceed. One, I could just basically remove all the bus references, you know, and thank them for letting the buses go through and send this letter
Yeah.
pretty much as is, because I would like to get something to them before this goes into effect. And then we can have, you know, at the next PRAL meeting, we could write a secondary letter saying, these are the things we want to look at.
Right.
Or these are the things that have already risen in the last couple days or something like that. So does that sound okay to everyone? And I can send a draft tomorrow.
I'm comfortable with that. I think
Okay.
that's good. And I think for PRAL, it would be good to have the numbers of walkers that we have.
Do we
in our
know,
district.
do we have that information? I mean, because there are
Yeah,
also
we
parents
can
dropping
estimate
off.
it.
Yeah.
We can do an estimate.
Right.
Yeah, there's sort of like a short list of statistics that would be useful, I think.
Okay.
That's definitely one.
I mean, we could even, if you do it before the next PRAL meeting, people could probably, this has enough interest that we could, I don't know if it's possible to do like a quick Survey Monkey poll, but if people say how many times a week they drive and drop off their kids, what percentage of kids are walkers, and then activities after school, and, you know, both extracurricular and or community. Maybe that's something we get from the city that take place in the areas around that. It would be,
And the schools would know the walkers, right? I mean, the schools.
Well, I mean, it's
Elementary,
an
I think
estimate
really the
because
secondary
the kids who walk might go by car some days and walk other days. So it would be
Right.
an estimate, but
Yeah.
don't have to, those can be separate data points, though. Like, you
Right.
can say we have this percentage that are walkers, and then if we did a quick Survey Monkey, I mean, because even people who are walkers or take the bus, the parents still drive periodically for, whether it's for chess club in the morning or for
Right.
art early in the morning.
We must know how many kids take the bus. Can't we just do some simple
Yeah,
math?
it could be
Yeah.
as simple as we have plenty of students who don't take the bus who will still be impacted by
Right.
this.
And we have
Right.
we have activities starting early that don't have transportation associated with it, but parents need to provide it. And then we have after-school activities and extracurriculars and community activities in that region and at that also require car transportation or something like that.
Yeah, basically, like, the bus covers a very small portion of the traffic going in and out.
It's nice that they heard us on that point, but it doesn't really address the larger issue that we're worried about.
The congestion.
My biggest concern with this road closure is that it essentially cuts our campuses, our two biggest campuses, to one way in, one way out.
Yep.
And it makes me very nervous, and I normally don't get like alarmist like this, but it makes me nervous that in case of a serious emergency where we have to evacuate the entire student body from both buildings, how is that gonna work? Like, you're gonna have hundreds of parents driving, and everyone's gonna be on Wilkes and Mattawan Road? Like, it just,
Right.
it seems really risky to me to only have one way
So
of
you're
access.
you're describing a scenario,
Like, it would
for
have
instance,
to be
like there's
something
a
horrible,
lockdown of some sort that goes
Yeah.
beyond a
some
school day.
tragedy.
Right, and we have to have like a special reunification point
Right, like,
somewhere.
if they could give us some more time to come up with like an emergency route plan or something so that we can at least have a protocol in place if, God forbid, there is something awful happens and we need to get everybody
Something
out.
awful doesn't even need to be happening. We need to have a plan in
Well,
case it
right,
does. Yeah,
like
so
in
it's
case of an emergency, how are we getting, how many kids in the two schools combined? If there's some terrible emergency where we need to get them all out, the school buses aren't gonna all show up and take them home,
Right.
right? We're gonna have a lot of people needing to come and either, everyone's gonna be like, where's my kid? And it just, I can like just imagine horror in my mind.
Yeah, and the point is they didn't really consider, give any time
Right,
to provide thought or consider what we have on our plate. You know,
right, and I spoke to
administrators.
somebody who was a student years ago, before the new high school was built. And he told me that there's that little access road by Rombout that is now been blocked off since I've lived here, but that used to be open, so like, maybe we can come up with an alternate plan for like an escape route, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, which would take some time and
Yeah.
budgeting and planning, so, yeah.
I mean, and besides that, I mean, that's my biggest concern, but also it kind of cuts off half of our school community from the usual route they take to get their kids to the middle school and high school. And I don't think that's really fair. You know, some of us choose to live out in the hinterlands for a reason, because it's a little less congested, a little bit less traffic, and we're kind of all getting forced into like two side streets, and I think that's crazy.
I think it's gonna be really crazy too, once the weather starts to hit, like,
Yeah.
the weather.
Well, also, like, I'm just thinking about with, you know, like I said, my kids walk, but they, you know, once weather gets really bad, we drive them more often than not.
Right.
Exactly.
Just even getting through that area in the morning and getting back if you have an early meeting or have to get another kid to school is just such a pain.
Right, and as it is now, you can't make a left out of any of the school parking lots. So, and then you can't make a left on Wilkes when you get down to the stop sign.
Right.
Yeah, we'd have to have somebody there directing traffic, essentially.
Yeah, it gets pretty nuts in the morning.
Well, and again, that takes a lot of coordination with the city, because
Yep.
they're, you know, the crosswalk guards are city employees, not district employees.
Right.
So, Anthony, did you have?
Yeah, I'd actually would like to ask if we can also ask legal what our options are, whether we can force them to create an impact statement or impact study, or you know, whether the fact that public's been driving through that area already has created some sort of a unofficial easement on that road or something like that.
Right. We have looked into the easement part, and our attorney does not feel like it provides us with that right. I've been speaking with our attorneys pretty much since this started. Not to get too into detail about those conversations. I mean, essentially, and Meredith, you've been a part of some of these, so chime in, but essentially it is, it is a state road. Well, I mean, I guess what we learned is all of Mattawan is a state road? right? And we actually do have an easement to use the part of Madawan that takes you to Verplank from the high school. That was in the original
1997.
deed of
yeah.
the land for the new high school. But it is their road, and I mean, essentially they can do with it what they want. I think, Alyssa, you kind of hit it on the head. It's my understanding is it's been open to the public for 13 years. And that's a really long time. I've only been here for a fraction of that time. So people are really used to just using it at any time of day, and then it's just gone. And I think, I mean, I know they're not thinking about the impact on the city of Beacon, but it's going to be pretty significant. And we've discussed doing some stuff with the light timing at Verplank and Madawan with the police department, but they don't have the ability to. I mean, I don't obviously run the city, but they don't have the ability, at least from what they say, to add extra shifts to deal with the traffic. Like they have the shift structure set up the way they do. Sorry, we have looked into the legal thing. I'm starting to ramble, and we'll continue to. And Meredith and Flora, so you're not flooded with random emails from me. I've been sort of sharing like those more, the emails. Dan Pettigrew's the person working with us, and Meredith and Flora have been on those email chains.
Thank you.
And we can bring him in to discuss, and I don't know what format it would be, but if we wanted to, but it's
It feels like a still unfolding situation to me. So I think, and I think we should treat it as that, and say what we need, and
Right.
hope that we're heard. It's true that at least from Dan Pettigrew's opinion, and it made sense to me that we don't have a legal standing.
Okay.
Even he said that we don't, even though we've been using it for this period of time, because they never stopped using it, it doesn't give us the right to say, eminent domain or
Right.
whatever it would be. So, yeah. So
It seems fairly rash, and then it also seems like they responded fairly quickly to a little bit of reasonable pushback. So I think you're wise to say it seems fluid, so we should continue to engage them in all of the downstream impacts that maybe they didn't consider.
Exactly, yeah. So that's why I really want to get something by the end of the week to them.
Yeah.
So I'll send you guys something tomorrow, and hopefully we can get it out end of the day on Friday. And I think we should copy all of our, the governor and Jonathan Jacobson, Sue Serino. And at some point, and maybe not yet, but a letter to the editor that kind of outlines our feelings about it.
Yeah.
Everybody okay with that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Great, thank you.
And
Thank
can I
you, Fran
just
Meredith,
mention
for
one
doing it.
one other
That's the
thing?
word.
I know that the corner of Prospect and 52 is like a super hairy turn to make that left. In talking with the city, if we're able to get this road back into use, can we petition the city to put a light down there?
I think you're getting way ahead of what.
Yeah, I mean, if that was
Yeah.
part of the argument of why they wanted to close the road, because
but
that
they haven't
turn is
really made-
dangerous and everything.
I haven't made
Like,
it.
But that's part of the thing is actually they didn't make an argument of why.
Right.
The safety concern I don't think had anything to do with traffic safety. I think it was more of a security concern,
Right.
I guess, but we don't really know. But I've already emailed the city council several times saying that we need a light at Ron's between Memorial
Yes.
and Ron's, and that will become urgent, I think, if this really.
Absolutely.
My gosh.
Yep.
Because it is really, you've got that bend in the road, and
Yeah.
I can't believe we haven't had a tragedy there, thank God. But I think that will become even more important. Okay, so moving on to the consent agenda. I don't have my consent agenda language up. The use of the consent agenda permits the Board of Education to make more effective use of its time by adopting a single motion to cover those relatively routine matters which are included. Any member of the board who wishes to discuss individually a particular piece of business on the consent agenda may so indicate, and that item will be considered and voted on separately, thus preserving the right of all board members to be heard on any issue. Are there any items that any members would like to have removed from the consent agenda? Hearing none, can I have a motion to approve 12.01 through 12.12?
So moved.
Second.
Second by Flora. Are there any comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I'm in favor, passes 8-0. Can I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Flora, Alyssa, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 8-0. Thanks very much. Have a good night.